I'm Rabbi J. Karzen.
And I'm Rabbanit Ruby Ray Karzen.
And Tape with Rabbi Doug is next.
We're gonna see Rabbi Doug. We're gonna see Rabbi Doug. We're gonna see Rabbi Doug on your TV tonight.
But Daddy, I want to watch Monday Night Football.
Forget about Monday Night Football. There's no other thing we're gonna watch on Monday but Rabbi Doug. Yeah, Rabbi Doug on TV tonight. We're gonna see Rabbi Doug. Oh, everybody talk about Doug.
Shalom and welcome to Taped with Rabbi Doug. Glad you could be with us today. Back with me today here in Chicago from Jerusalem, Rabbi J. Karzen and Rabbanit Ruby Ray Karzen. Bruchim habayim, as we say. Welcome back to Chicago for this 5772 show as we are here taping today. It's wonderful to have you back in Chicago. You're here for a simcha this time, which is always a good reason to come back to Chicago. But I know it's always good to come to Chicago because you're able to visit your family members that are here and your old friends and congregants who are here.
And you.
And me. Well, Rabbi Karzen spoke in my synagogue this past Shabbat to a nice crowd of people who are excited to hear him. And we're always excited to hear from you. Tell me, just in a brief note, is anything happening new in your personal life in Israel? Any changes? The two of you are there, two of your children. Oh, you just have a granddaughter about to get married. Racheli is getting married, I know, your daughter, Tammy's daughter. So that's very exciting. And just recently engaged, and just other smachot. How many, first of all, how many grandchildren do you have right now?
Well, we have 11 grandchildren. 11 grandchildren, 4 of whom are married. We have great-grandchildren.
Right. How many great-grandchildren?
3.5 great-grandchildren.
3 great-grandchildren?
Great-grandchildren. And
We're expecting another one soon.
Number 4. Very
Yes.
nice.
Make it like a 19.
Shah Tova, very nice.
but we're thrilled. We're celebrating now our 26th year in Israel.
26 years.
26 years ago. And we're celebrating our 55th wedding anniversary next week.
Oh, Mazel Tov, very nice. And your birthday also next week.
My birthday, yes. And our children are happy. Everybody, Baruch Hashem, is healthy and well, thriving in Israel.
And frum.
And from.
Which means observant.
And we have 4 of our grandchildren in the army currently. And it's a very great joy to be able to have young people from our family serving in the Israeli Defense Forces.
It's wonderful. And I know that the two of you on this trip have had the opportunity to visit all your siblings. I know the Rebbitzen visited both her sisters while she's in town here, and the rabbi visited his brother and sister in Las Vegas on the round here.
Don't ask me why they live in Las Vegas, but we were there
formerly of Chicago
for 3 days. And now we're in Chicago. We had a wonderful experience here. It was good speaking in your congregation this Shabbat. And we're going home Monday to be there to light the first lights of Hanukkah.
On Tuesday night. So we're taping right before Hanukkah now. And Rabbi, you said some very pertinent words that connected Israel and Hanukkah today, the lighting of the candles. What do you think the connection between Israel today and the ancient holiday of Hanukkah is?
Look, Hanukkah is a holiday of miracles. The main 2 miracles that happened in Hanukkah was that the Israelis, the Maccabees, defeated the mighty Greek army. That itself, few against the mighty, and we won that battle, and that's a miracle. One of the Nes Gadol Hayat Po, a great miracle happened here. And the other one, of course, was the jug of oil that everyone is familiar with. It should have lasted 1 day, lasted 8 days. But miracles are something that happen all the time in Israel. I always say that we are eyewitnesses to miracles that are constantly occurring 24/7. There's never a time in the day or night that miracles don't happen. If we had more time to go into all the details, but trust me when I tell you that the state of Israel itself is the greatest miracle of the 20th century, 21st century, and the things that we have done, we've accomplished, the high-tech, the agricultural, the medical, another Nobel Prize winner this year.
What's his name?
Shechman. And the 4 or 5 years ago was
Israel,
Alman,
Who was on our show?
who was our neighbor,
Who was our neighbor and our friend.
and we
And we
prayed
did
with him, we
together.
davened with him, he sits next to
And
me.
he's been a guest on our show before. It's wonderful.
You know, things are happening, the economy is booming in
Yeah.
Israel.
I
Sort
don't know, booming.
But it's good.
Well, compared to the European economy,
yes.
which is the big talk, by the way, in the news, if you read the market news of the European economy, it constantly talks about how Israel's economy is still growing while the European economy is struggling, and it used to be the opposite. And it's flip-flopped that in the democracies on the other side of the world from the United States, that it's Israel now, which is growing, and
We
the
have
European
Stanley
economy.
Fisher, who is the
God
chairman of the
bless
Bank of
him.
Israel.
Yes, he's
American.
a governor. He's a governor of the Bank of Israel, and he runs
Former
our
American.
finance. He
And
runs
he's
our
keeping
finance.
us afloat.
Well, it's a wonderful thing. So miracles are the connection between Hanukkah and Israel today. But the Rabbanit had.
Before you finish that, I just want to say, on our dreidels, here it says Nes Gadol Haya Sham.
Sham,
the
there.
Shin. And our dreidels, it says Nes Gadol Haya Po.
So there's a pay on it.
There's a pay on instead of a shin. And people always, sometimes they look at it and they say, I said, look, remember where you were.
That's
You're
right.
here.
That's right.
It's Po.
It's here. Absolutely. And when Israeli dreidels sort of filter their way into the United States, they become collector's items to people because you don't see them so often with a pay on them. So it's a big thing. I got an Israeli dreidel. I remember as a kid the first time I saw one. It's amazing. And the Rebbitzen was talking before we went on the air about not only the physical miracles of the rebirth of a country since 1948, and it's just changing every day for the better. But you're talking about the cultural rebirth of a country, the miracles of the changing culture. And I wonder if you could share some of that with us, because I don't think a lot of people outside of Israel, they hear about the politics, they hear about the construction sometimes, but they don't hear so much about the culture. What's new in Israeli culture?
Israeli culture in Israel is really booming. That's a good word for it. We have everything on a daily basis. If you are really interested, you can go almost every day to either an opera, a ballet, the theater, and the theater, remember, is in many languages. The theater is not only in Hebrew and Arabic and Yiddish and Russian and Bukharian, and you can go on and on and on. We have theater groups for everybody. And in Tel Aviv, they have built a complex. They opened the third part of it this last week. The Habima Theater. There are three sections to it. One is for opera and symphony. One is for ballet, and one theater is for the Habima Theater, which is for plays. And first of all, it is absolutely gorgeous. I believe you'll have a picture on it of that complex. And there is a tremendous amount of interest in culture, and not only for adults, but it's also for teenagers and children. I'll give you an example. The kibbutz, we have a wonderful symphony orchestra. The Jerusalem Symphony Orchestra is marvelous. The Israeli Symphony Orchestra, worldwide known. But did you know that there are hundreds of kibbutzim, and there are probably 200 or 300 kibbutz orchestras? It's all over the place. People come and people enjoy it. We have concerts constantly of not only the stars, the Israeli stars, but people from all over the world. Paul Anka comes every once in a while, and he sells out, and the prices are exorbitant, just exorbitant. Neil Tzedakah comes. These are people that remember, and they sell out. Absolutely sell out.
I know.
You can
I
listen to anything.
saw Billy Joel in Israel.
Billy Joel, right? He was in there. There's some unusual from all over the world. They come, and they're very, very well received.
I understand Paul McCartney was he there or he's coming there? Paul McCartney of the
I
Beatles.
believe he was.
He was
He
just
is
there
not-
recently. Yeah.
Yeah. I
So-
didn't follow him.
Uh-huh.
He's not mine, but whatever. It's just incredible.
Really?
And of course, the Israeli stars and the American Jewish stars. What's his name? We just saw Fried.
Oh, Avram Fried.
Avram Fried
Also
last
been on our
week.
TV show before.
I was at
He
the
was at
concert
the
last
concert.
week, one of the great, all-time great concerts.
He is great. He
And
is
you're
great.
not talking about a theater of 100, 200, 300 seats. You're talking about thousands of seats We have stadiums, and there are, and you also when what's his name with the candle?
Elton John?
Elton
Candle in the
John.
Wind.
Elton John was there.
Candle in the Wind.
And yeah, right. And at the end of his concert, I mean, there were 40,000 people with candles. I mean, the cultural landscape of Israel is unbelievably in good health.
Very, very nice.
And yet, I must say, as I mentioned in my sermon, Israel is the only country under the planet where there's still a question mark whether we have a right to exist. The United Nations is always knocking Israel. We're always being picked on by the rest of the world. And countries like Iran, which is the Hitler and the Germany of our generation, openly boasts about soon they will destroy Israel. And the entire world gives a collective yawn, as if to say, don't believe it, it's only words, nothing's going to happen. And it's reminiscent of 1939, when Hitler, Yimach Shemo, also talked about destroying the Jewish people, and everyone says, it'll pass over, it's just words and so forth. And we don't take it as just words, we take it seriously.
And should.
And should, as the Haggadah tells us, in every generation there's someone that rises up to try to destroy us, but we have faith that there is a God in the world who will save us. And we have to believe that there is a God in this world watching over us.
Absolutely.
I'd like to tell you,
yes.
Can I go back for...
Please.
Okay. There's a city called Holon, Holon in English. And it was, even 20 years ago, it was a dusty backwater place, very small, probably most of you never even heard of it. In Hebrew, it's Holon, in English, it's Holon. And this city was a recipient of many, many, many Russians. And the Russians came into this city. It was just a small city, and they have built it into a cultural center. It's incredible. They had a worldwide fashion extravaganza where people came from Paris and from Madrid and from London to see our fashion. That was a first. That was really incredible. And they had, along the streets, there's sculpture. They have a museum that shows you, it's called the Museum for the Blind. And you only go in a group of 12. It's pitch black dark. You have a stick. The leader of the group is blind. And they take you through a building with very narrow hallways, like a maze, yeah. And as you go through, he will say, well, now we're in a park, and you hear birds singing. And then we're crossing the street, and you hear traffic. And you go through this maze. It's an incredible, but you must have a reservation. You got to call, as soon as you get to Israel, make a reservation. It's an incredible.
It's very, very cool.
Cologne, it is part of the Children's Museum, and they have a caricature museum, cartoons. It's becoming really a spot of culture on the globe.
Just amazing, just amazing. Today, what do the people of Israel think about the demise of Saddam Hussein and Gaddafi? Is there talk in Israel that this is all godly ordained? Is there talk that Israel's in better shape than it was with these people who were enemies of Israel?
Without a doubt, the world not only is better off without these people. Hopefully, Ahmadinejad will be another one who will be off the scene soon. He is the Hitler of our generation. He wants to destroy not only Israel, but he really wants to destroy the United States. And he says it. And I'm only amazed and flabbergasted that people in Washington don't take it too seriously. It's only talk. It's not going to happen. It can't happen. It wouldn't happen. And it will happen if we're not careful.
Absolutely.
But can I tell you the other side? There's another side with certain countries like Egypt. Now, Mubarak didn't love us, but we were able to deal with him for years. And now that the elections have been,
was somebody elected?
Muslim Brotherhood has the upper hand, and they are zealots and they're extremists and they are very dangerous, not only for us, but for the world. And we cannot deal with them like we dealt with Mubarak. Sometimes the enemy that you knew is the enemy that you
were
is
better
best
off
for
with.
you. And this is a very big. But this whole Arab Spring has, gone from country to country to country.
My very next subject I wanted to ask you about, as a matter of fact, I was going to bring up the Muslim Brotherhood and ask you what the relationship between Israel and Egypt is right now. Now, was somebody actually elected into power in Egypt?
No.
Or this was
They
just...
have a party.
That's
It's a
just
party.
parties.
And they got the most votes.
There's no individual now that has risen to be the leader yet of Egypt. There will be, but not yet. But we all are concerned, the whole rise of the fanatic Muslim religion.
What do people think about Syria right now? Do you think that Assad is going to be taken out?
Yes.
Is that a popular
His
belief?
days are over, but who's going to come after him is
Might be
another-
worse.
Could
Yeah,
be
we don't
worse.
know.
Could be
That's the
worse.
whole problem.
That's the problem.
Egypt is very, very interesting. There is a marvelous highway going between Egypt and Israel, and it was built with the hopes that we would have a true peace. Now, this is many, many years. It's since '67, and we have a cold peace. But a cold peace is better than
No
a
peace.
hot war, right? So we live with it. There are exchanges, over Gaza. We have all these with the tunnels and the whole thing. But at least we've been dealing with them all these years. What's now? The problem is a lot of it is unknown. We don't know what's going to happen.
From day to day, things
Really
change.
don't know.
And life goes on in Israel as if it's normal, it's natural. We expect problems, we anticipate problems, and yet the truth of the matter is that the life in Israel is flourishing. It is not a dangerous place in which to visit, to live. And
Well, you're more likely to be shot and robbed on the streets of Chicago than you are walking down the street in Jerusalem, certainly.
I've got to say, people ask me on a regular basis, how
God
do
forbid.
you deal with living in Israel? We're there a long time. It's 26 years. I mean, our kids have grown up, and we've gotten older, and as everybody else has gotten older. How do you deal with life on a day-to-day basis? And we're busy all the time. And you know what I tell them? I say, you get up in the morning, you put one foot in front of the other, you do what you're supposed to do. If you're supposed to go to school, you go to school. If you're supposed to go to work, you go to work. And we deal with it, and we have our very happy occasions. Israel's very family-oriented, extremely family-oriented. And there was, Forbes had a survey, and they said that Israel is the 8th happiest country in the world. America was like 26.
We gave a Sefer Torah to the Army a few months ago. We wanted to do something to celebrate our anniversary and just the joy of being in Israel. So we got together a bunch of friends and we got a Sefer Torah from the Holocaust that was fixed up and so forth. We gave it to an army base in Gush Etzion. We had 4 buses of people that came with an orchestra, dancing, singing, and it was a real explosion, celebration, and to give a Sefer Torah with our name on it, our friend's name on it, and it was one of the great joys of our Aliyah to be able to do that for the Israeli army.
Now, you commissioned a Torah and had it for yourselves in honor of your children. Do
And
you
we
still
have-
use that Torah today when you do bar mitzvahs and stuff?
Yes, when I go to Masada, when I go to the Robinson's Arch or the Southern Wall Steps, I take my Torah. It's never gotten more use than it does now.
Very nice.
And in America, my congregation, it sat in the ark most of the time, and we took it out on Simchas Torah to dance with. But this is used on a regular basis.
Very nice.
And all of Hanukkah, I have 8 bar mitzvahs, thank God, during the week of Hanukkah, and that Torah will be used almost all week.
A lot of people that grew up with us and knew you as our rabbi and Rabbanit, our Rebbitzen, knew Uri and Tammy, your children, and know that they went to Israel before you. And Tammy is working as a lawyer. Uri is in real estate, right? And he's also an EMT, right? Am I correct about that? He's also a medic.
His son has taken over his duty. Eli Melech has really taken over his duties.
With
And
Magen David Adom.
Yes.
He's also a videographer.
He does that too, right?
And he does a lot of different
So
things.
your children are successful, and they still learn Torah at the same time. It's a wonderful thing. And I think that people don't know, Uri lives in the West Bank.
He
He
lives
lives in
In
Hebron.
Hebron,
And he's the Gabbai of the Ma'arat Machpelah.
Cave of Machpelah, the burial place of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, and Leah, our patriarchs and matriarchs. He is the Gabbai in the service in the synagogue, which is in the complex built over the cave.
We were there for Sukkot.
We stayed.
And one of the great joys of being there, to daven, to pray, to wave the lulav and etrog in that place, it's a godly experience.
However, a Kohen can't go to that davening.
No,
that
they do,
man can't.
believe it or not, they
So
do.
how do they do that? How do they do that?
There's all kinds of loopholes where they may do that.
Because they're more than 4 amas above the grade.
No, not only that, it's very big. It's not like it's one room. So if you're davening, if you're praying over here, I mean, you could be in another group, a prayer group, a block
There's
away.
different roofs and different rooms, and they get around it.
Very nice, very nice. So, the success of coming to Israel is not always easy for everyone. We know our dear friends, the Weinsteins, just moved to Israel recently, and they've told us that it's hard to get into a working mode, a new profession and everything. The children acclimating to new schools is the Aliyah atmosphere, people moving to Israel now. I know we can watch it live on video, as we do with many of our friends that end up moving to Israel. We can see them landing on video, and we watch
Nefesh
B'Nefesh has a TV show that they broadcast on the internet, so you actually see your friends when they land, and the greeting party and everything happening. Is the atmosphere of people coming in Aliyah still positive, about happy,
There
about being
aren't
here?
enough people coming. There's about 3,000.
I think this year we'll see like Nefesh B'Nefesh with their help. There's 4,000 Anglos. Don't you love being called an Anglo?
Sure.
The Queen of England is an Anglo, but now we are Anglos too. And Anglos are Americans, Canadians, British, and
English speaking.
Australians. New
English
Zealand. And there's about 4,000 in the year 2011. Which really isn't very much, but it's much more. When we came, there were 1,100 that year. 1,100. So there is more. But I would say we had the experience of being at the very, very first landing of Nefesh B'Nefesh. And the second one, I was president of the ACI, which is the Associations of Americans and Canadians in Israel, which was the first, which it deals with the Aliyah. Aliyah, Nefesh B'Nefesh, of course.
They bring them
that
over,
one.
and then we take over, and we
ASA
run
takes
the
over.
help.
But that was the first one, and there wasn't there still isn't a dry eye in the whole, it's in a hangar, a huge place, and people throw candy, and it is just a marvelous celebration.
Wonderful.
Everybody's crying. Everybody's crying.
Is-
It's an incredible thing. Yes, it's wonderful.
Is the work environment in Israel, or unemployment, is it steady? Is it rising? Is it getting lower? How is that happening there in Israel?
It depends what your profession is. It really does. If you are a doctor, for instance, a doctor coming from here, there are programs for doctors to try to acclimate them. It is not easy. Moving across the street is not easy. Moving to another neighborhood, to another state, it's not easy. Believe me, it's not easy to move across the ocean and have a new language and a new culture and a new way of life. But and you have to have a sense of humor, but you can do it. Hopefully, with God's help, you can do it. And you have to have a little mazel. You have to have a little mazel, but it's not easy. It's not easy. It's just not. That's it. You have to work at
But
it.
you have to make up your mind that it's going to work. Because if you come here with the idea, if it doesn't work, we can always go
Come
back.
back, yeah.
They'll go back. If you come here, if you sell your house and you give up everything, you come here and say, I am going to succeed here, you'll succeed.
Living in Israel is not better than America, and it's not worse than America, but it's different. And if you make up your mind that it's different, don't compare, because there's things that are better and things that are worse.
It's better Jewishly, that's one that's better.
Absolutely, there's no question about it. The cost of day school now in America is so high that there's a number of young families, every plane load of Nefesh B'Nefesh who come because of the price of day school.
Yeah, sure, to send your
Just
children
that.
to a Jewish school
good Jewish
with
school,
good
right.
Jewish education
Yes,
and a
and
religious school.
yes, and
And Israel is part of your rights of living in the country,
It
just
still
like public
costs you.
school.
Don't think it doesn't cost you.
No,
It
everything
still
costs.
you.
Everything
But
costs.
there's
But
no
it's nowhere
comparison.
near
No
the
comparison.
astronomical figures. I was shocked to hear what some of the tuitions are in the day schools.
Close to
here.
$20,000 a student in almost all
I
the
mean,
day schools.
How can a person, you have 3 or 4 children?
It's
You have
You
to
want to
make
do
a-
the right thing, and so this is one of the reasons. This is one of the reasons people do move.
And this is
Young
why
families.
in the Jewish communities of the Chicago area, most people don't go on vacation very much because they work to put their children through elementary school.
One of the things that, bothers us a lot is that so few people come to visit Israel. Forget Aliyah for a moment. We're talking about Aliyah, but even not Aliyah, I can't understand how 80% of the Jewish people of the world, in America in particular, I know they go on cruises all over the world, they go to Las Vegas, they go to all kinds of places, and yet they can't stop in for 2 weeks.
How about a week?
A week.
Let's take a week.
If a person doesn't have money, I can understand it. If a person is ill, I can understand it. But the thousands of Jews who are traveling all over the world, who are healthy and affluent enough to do that, just don't come to drop into Israel for a week. It really hurts me because
I'll tell you,
how can it be that a Jew wouldn't want to come and see the accomplishments, the achievements that we've done in these 60 plus years?
fortunately or unfortunately, I do a tremendous amount of funerals officiating, and fortunately because people count on me and I'm able to help them, unfortunately that so many people pass away. But I hear about, my mother, Aleha Shalom, went on these wonderful trips. They went here, they went there, they went there. Did they go to Israel? No, they never made it to Israel. And I have the same, hurt my heart. They would love to, but they never made it there. So what you're saying is very true. We only have a couple of minutes left. The time just flies by. But Rebbitzen, you're still doing interior design to keep yourself busy. You haven't retired and given up that beautiful profession that you do.
No.
And so many people have come on you, Rabbi. You're still doing bar mitzvahs, taking people to the hotel, to the Western Wall, taking people to Masada and to the steps, as you mentioned, in the old city, to do bar mitzvahs all over the place, and of course in synagogues where they want you to. And the two of you have found ways to keep yourselves busy where other people, and they're sort of creative ways. This was a talent you had. This is a talent you had. You went to Israel and you said, let's use our talents to survive.
Rabbi Doug, we had to. I was 47. He was 50. No Social Security, no nothing.
That's right.
I'm the gabbai also in one of the big synagogues in Yerushalayim, and it gives you a chance to be, quote, sort of like a rabbi, because I can control the services and so forth, and I enjoy it. It's
Of course. Well, and we enjoy you being here, and I want to thank you both so much. The time just flies by every time we do this. I look forward to either my next trip to you or your next trip here, because the camera will be with me either way, and we can do this again. I want to thank Lonnie for taping today. I want to thank all of you, our guests, who are watching us on the air. Remind you, if you want to check out our website, it's www.tvrabbi.com, where you can also see many, many former episodes with Rabbi and Mrs. Karzen on the show with us. And if you want to send us an email or send them an email, I'll be happy to forward to them. It's info@tvrabbi.com. Once again, thank you, Rabbi and Mrs. Karzen, for being with us. I wish you only gesund, good health, only hatzlacha, success in all that you do. And as a liaison, as I know that both of you are for so many people who come to Israel, who count on you, whether it's to find a place in a cemetery plot in Israel to bury someone, or whether it's helping them find a place to settle, or helping them meet people that can help them in their endeavors. It's a wonderful thing, and I wish you much success in your endeavors as helpers to other people who are trying to follow the same path you follow.
And Shalom al Yisrael.
And Shalom al Yisrael, and we should only see peace, and all of your prayers and blessings should come true. Amen. And all of our prayers and blessings should come true. And I hope to see you next time, right here, same time, same place, on Taped with Rabbi Doug. Thank you again, Rabbi and Mrs. Karzen. Shalom, everyone.
Gonna see Rabbi Doug on the TV tonight.
This has been a Taped with Rabbi Doug production.